Hi, welcome to the Uzalendo Podcast. My name is Manu Mutemu Akema, the host, founder of the Uzalendo Foundation. The Uzalendo Foundation highlights and amplifies ordinary Kenyans doing extraordinary things. In this episode, we feature Justine Wanda. Justine Wanda is a Kenyan stand-up comedian who uses her platform for socio-political commentary and satire. Karibuni. Hi, Justine.
Hi.
Karibu sana to the Uzalendo Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for making time. The podcast is about highlighting Kenyans who are providing leadership in other spaces, alternative leadership. Tumezoea wanasiasa, but one of the things we want to illustrate is that this leadership doesn't have to come from politicians alone. And there are people also who do what they do because of either love for it or sense of community or wanting to give back, but not necessarily because they are being paid for it. Even if some of them end up making money out of it, but it's to show that there's another side of Kenya, especially sahi watu wamechoka na wanasiasa, as I've seen in some of your conversations online. So karibu sana.
Thank you.
Please introduce yourself. Your name and umetoka wapi, where are you from? Feel free to speak in English, Swahili, whatever, Sheng, Gengeton.
Napenda jina zaidi. I don't want to. My name is Justine. I am a stand-up comedian.
One name.
Sitakagi kupera government ID names because it's a little tricky because I'm a polarizing individual. So I like to use my...
According to whom?
According to the comment section of my pages.
Okay.
So I feel sometimes when I give out my full names, what is it called? It's called doxing. Some people are very... they'll find you. So they'll find your details somewhere and they'll kind of put your information out there. It's happened to certain individuals and I think I get a little scared too. Yeah, so I'll just give one name if that's okay. My name is Justine. I am a stand-up comedian. I'm a writer. I'm a social commentator, I'll say. Yeah, but I mostly do it using comedy because I think when people laugh, they kind of forget how hard life is sometimes. Yeah. So
stand-up comedian as in you go to a space and you try and make people laugh.
Yes.
Or actually now if you're already a comedian, that means you make people laugh.
I do make people laugh. I think that's probably my purpose on earth. I like when people are having an easier time. Yes.
And there are Kenyans who have complained about the way we take serious things and make fun of them.
Yeah.
It's like we desensitize people from the reality. What do you think?
I don't think it's desensitizing people. If anything, you're getting more people to engage with discourse that they wouldn't actually engage with. I feel like meme culture in Kenya has kind of shifted even very important conversations and is helping more Kenyans participate in everyday governance. And even with information that's extremely heavy, they find a way to disperse it to everyday people using jokes and memes. And I think that's important than having people not even participate at all in the national conversation.
Yeah. So we come back to that. So where are you from?
Okay, so I'm from many places. On Twitter, my bio says Wanderer because I was born in Nairobi, but I grew up in Kakamega, Kilifi, Mombasa, Eldoret, and now Nairobi again.
You're young. How do you end up growing in so many places?
It's because I'm an adopted child. So the family that it's just my family. It's my brothers, my dad's younger brother who adopted me. And growing up, he had to move a lot for work. So everywhere he went,
You were a
we had
civil
to go with
servant or
him.
something?
He worked in a bank.
Oh, it's banks
Yeah,
also.
yeah.
Civil service and banks.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of moving around, and we were kind of just like his suitcase. When he moves with us. Yeah, so I moved around a lot because of that. Yes.
And so how many languages do you speak?
Right now I'm learning isiZulu, but I speak English, naongea Kiswahili. I speak a little Spanish. I speak a little Luya. A little Luo. A little Kikuyu. Mostly because I'm trying to understand the memes. That's the reason I try and speak as many languages as possible.
So it's not out of the it's living in different spaces.
When you live in a lot of different spaces, you find a lot of people are trying to accommodate you. So they try and speak in a language that you can understand, which really didn't make me go out of my way to learn other languages. And also it's because I was very young. So I think I was kind of just going with the flow. I didn't really learn a lot of languages because also I wasn't there for a longer period of time. It was just like a short period and then you move. Yeah.
And then you're the generation to whom English, Swahili, Shang is the...
Unfortunately, like
is
a
the
lot
lingua.
of us. Yeah.
No, it's, I think for Amzee like me, maybe that's the way to go. To avoid this political, tribal...
Do you really think?
I don't know. It's a I don't know. Because what you've tried hasn't worked. We always end up going back to our tribal cocoons. And maybe we are hoping that this generation of Kenyans it will not matter. Tribe will not matter.
I hope so.
And it's not easy because there are Kikuyus who don't know how to speak Kikuyu. Who grow up speaking English and Swahili. But whenever politics come, they remember their Kikuyus or Luos or Kalenjins.
The name.
Yeah. You know? So how was that experience of, living in different spaces in Kenya?
I think
different towns.
I'll say for me it was easy because we kind of just adapted to the areas that we were at. So there's areas we went to and the culture didn't feel too different. I'll say like going to Mombasa, Kilifi, I think I feel most at home there because people didn't feel different from home. But Eldoret, I think, was different, mostly even because of the school I went to. There was a lot of integration. There's a lot of people from different backgrounds. So that was very eye-opening for
That's
me.
high school?
In high school. So it just felt very culture heavy, but not too... I'm trying to find the word for this, but I didn't feel the need to kind of become a different person to fit in because everyone felt like they were different. So we were trying to find like unity in that particular space. Like we're all different, but what's the common ground? So how do I make friends? How do I communicate with people from completely different backgrounds than mine? Like that kind of mesh of people helped us grow together.
What school was it? Do you mind?
Moi Girls High School, Eldoret.
Moi Girls.
Yes.
Okay.
It's
a national school, yeah?
Yeah,
so you had people from all over.
Primary.
Many, several.
Okay, so primary, I went to a public school in Kilifi. I think it was called Kilimo Primary. I went to Elite Primary School, which is private in Kakamega. I went to Hill School, which is also in Kakamega. I went to... I'm trying to remember the name of that other school. High Vision. I'm trying to remember the name of the school.
Must be an academy.
Yeah. So because of the communities, like the banking community would like recommend like a school to go to. So it's because most of their kids go there, they're like, okay, maybe you should take your kid there. So we never really had a choice to get like a school that we wanted. We were just like, when you get there, you already have an interview aligned. You go, you do the interview, you're in school for like up to 6 months to a year, and then you move again. Yeah.
How's that life? Like being uprooted even before you like get to settle?
It was fun. Because you make short-term friends
Yeah.
and then you move away and then you're like, oh, I had a different life last year. It happened for, I think, 2 to 3 years back to back, and then it stopped when my uncle got like a job where he couldn't really move around a lot. He was like, I'm getting older, I don't want to move around as much. So he had like an appeal form, and then they let him stay in one place for longer. Yeah. So then it kind of stopped.
So how you're a stand-up comedian? Did that contribute to part of that? Is that part of the building, being able maybe to fit in different spaces, meet new people?
I think so. Maybe it informed how I operate right now as a human being. I just didn't think of it growing up. I'm just like, I was happy to be in a different place, making new friends, trying to like find kind of like a new path in this year before like the next change comes. But I don't know then it would inform the life that I live now. Because right now I'm very comfortable when I'm on the road, when I'm out and about, when I'm moving around. I'm like so happy. Maybe it comes from the background that I had. Yes.
It's like you've always been on the road all your
Yes.
life.
I've always been a roadie without even thinking about it.
And then did you go to college, uni?
So my life kind of changed with the places that I lived. I lived with my uncle for a while, and then I lived with my older brothers for a while, and then I went to uni. So when I was living with my older brother, he was like, you should start thinking of a school you want to go to, because like after high school, I don't know how we're going to contribute to your life after this, because we have our own lives. You have to kind of
You have to
find
take care of
those.
yourself.
Yeah. So they were very, no, you have to go to school, do the right thing. And I don't know if I was that kind of child, because I wanted to be a dancer at some point. So that was the time I was in school. I went to Kenyatta University. And
You said the time you were
in uni.
In
university,
uni.
yes. So I was trying to figure out what I want to do. And I always knew like the traditional path is kind of nice, but it only makes sense if I find something that I love to do. So when I was in uni, I was telling you this earlier, I studied art. I went to art school, and my brother was like, how is this going to become a career? And I was like, I don't know. Let's trust the process. And I love that my brother trusted me enough to be like, okay, this is something you've chosen for yourself. I trust you to make good decisions and like actually create a path for yourself. So I went to uni, I studied art, actually majored in interior design, and I think I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, if I just stick to it, I'll probably get like the right.
Figured it out.
Yes.
Or something.
I don't
How did
think
you get admitted to art school? Or you an art? Did you like do a test or draw something or whatever?
I actually do draw.
Oh,
I'm
you
just
do.
like not very good at it. I'm not like a very excellent. I'll say like entry level.
Even after 4 years of art
No,
school?
I got really good and then I just fell off because I don't think it was like a passion of mine. Because I think when you love something, you'll want to do it every day. But I really loved the technical aspect of interior design. It allowed me to like create spaces in a way that I imagined them. And I think that was the creative appeal for me. So that really drew me in more than like the painting and the drawing. Like everything is nice because look around how we are. But I just wish if I was that kind of artist, I would have wanted to be the best at it. So when I felt like I wasn't, I was like, let me find another way. Yeah.
Did you did interior design? Did you practice interior design?
Yes. I did practice interior design for 2 years. It was a very strange time because I did my internship when I was in uni, and it was
at an interior design firm?
Yeah, at an interior design firm, and it was one of the hardest places I've ever been to because like my supervisor was very mean. He was like, why are you not doing this the way I want you to? And I'm like, I'm just a student. Like if you could like walk me through some things, maybe it would be easier. So it was very tough, but like I really got to understand the intricacies of the business and like how to actually just like do like really good work. And I'm a perfectionist, so that really helped. Like I was scared, but I got into the rhythm of things. But then when I got my job, which I did for 2 years, I didn't expect it to be the thing that it became, because my boss was very harsh. She was a very, not harsh in the sense that about the job thing, it was about everything. She just liked yelling, and it was more about that circus than it was about the job. So that kind of got to me, and I quit.
Was it a big firm?
It was. I can't mention names because I don't want to
Yeah,
be
no, it's
sued.
okay. It's okay.
But yeah, it was a big farm. 'Cause
Architectural or interiors?
it was an purely interior farm, and I think we did a lot of like soft furnishing, a lot of like wallpaper, all the stuff that I really wanted to do.
For
But
like home clients or corporate?
Home and corporate. Yeah. I really wanted to be able to do it like storefronts and stuff like that. But she was very inclined to like the kind of clientele she had, because like she mostly dealt with like high-end people, very rich, very exclusive clients, and it was very uncomfortable because you can't have like a creative say if like every detail is laid out by the person who's above you. So if the client something that you suggested to them, they feel like you're overstepping, and then it becomes like a tussle, and that gets lost in like the creativity part doesn't even matter anymore. Yeah. So that became a problem for me, and I'm kind of shaking right now because I don't think I've gotten over the trauma. Yeah, but it was a very difficult time for me, because I thought interior design is fun, we're creating like beautiful spaces, like it should feel like that, but it didn't. Yeah.
How long did you work there for?
2 years.
How long did you work for?
I worked there for 2 years.
Yeah. And it was 2 years of stress.
When it started out, I didn't think it was going to be stressful. I thought it was just going to be like a fun thing, because like when I met the lady who owns the place, she was very nice, and she was like, oh, I see that. Actually, I got hired because her former interior designer had just quit abruptly. So it was like those chance jobs where you kind of don't even wait too long to be hired, which was a good thing for me because I didn't want to be at home doing nothing. My brother was very happy. He was like, oh, you got a job. This is nice. And then I got to the job, and like she was very good to me at the interview. Even the first few days of working there was like very easy. And then week 3, everything just shifted, and I was like, okay.
The good person emerged.
Yeah. I was like, okay, this is not what I was prepared for. And I thought maybe it's like just the stress of the job that particular week, and then everything will go back to normal. It never did. Yeah.
For 2 years.
For 2 years.
You're not supposed to think, be creative, just implement what you've been told.
If you walk through that door, it's like, do as I say. Your creativity is probably like 20% of your input. The rest of it is like doing quotes, making sure you're not making mistakes. And like I was taking over the project from the previous interior designer, like a project from the previous interior designer, and they'd already made some mistakes, and I was taking the hit for it. Yeah.
Wow. Poorly about that. Poorly about that.
I think I'm okay that I left. I'm just like, I really didn't deal with that.
I mean, I did interior design also. And when I got my first job, which I did for 3 months, let me just say I ended up in graphics. I never went.
You know, I did the interior part.
So, yeah, actually, I ended up like having a career in graphics. So, but I worked for this lady also. And basically what I became was the draftsman. So I used to like technical drawing, but the drafting that was being done was, for me, I mean, it's let's say you're doing a fish and chicken place in town, and you're doing the counters and all that, and you need to capture them in a certain way, so then you can be given to fundis to now build that. So I not gotten that in school in the University of Nairobi. For me, interior design was being creative and color and conceptualizing spaces and that. When you tell me now, once you conceptualize, break it into inches and millimeters and bevels and brackets and that kind of thing. I didn't last there long. I think she worked me out of the maybe possibly an interior design career. So I
Oh
never,
no, I'm so sorry. Because I love the technical bit. Like the good thing was that happened during my internship, like the drilling of understanding all these different parts, so that when I got the job, that wasn't even a problem. But I never even got to do that.
And you know what? I'd done metalwork in high school. And I was in one of those provincial schools that had workshops.
Wow.
So actually from Form 1 to Form 4, I actually did metalwork, cutting metal, drilling, welding, that kind of thing. So that was, actually loved it. I got an A. And I've gotten an A plus if it was possible, but I got an A. But now, here you have someone who's, I think it's that thing of, you have an interior designer and you're working for an interior designer. So your work is to just be a functional in producing whatever the ideas are.
Yeah.
There's no chance for you to be creative. I don't know.
That's the worst thing, because like the beauty of your creativity could even make the company better, but they don't even give you a shot. Yeah.
And you haven't thought of doing it on your own? How did you end
I
up?
did it on my own when I was struggling financially. And there's just one client who really came through for me because they were very open-minded.
Did you quit or were you fired?
No, I quit.
You quit, okay.
I quit. If I had been fired, I think that would have even been more traumatic for me, considering the space was very difficult. I quit, and then I had to do like a 2 weeks notice, which was very funny because she thought I was bluffing. She thought this one is not leaving, but I didn't want to have any problem with like a recommendation after. That's why I did like the 2 week notice. Yeah.
Okay, so you go into private practice. You're struggling financially.
Yeah, that was trash. That was absolutely trash because I didn't know you kind of have to do a lot of one-on-one conversations with people. I'm a very awkward person. I don't know how to appeal to people with like, oh, you have to smile, you have to show up to meetings, you have to do like the runarounds before you actually get to the meeting about the job that you're supposed to do. And that was very difficult.
The marketing bit.
Yeah. So I didn't know I had to do that. And my brother, who was very supportive of me at the time, he's the same way. He wasn't able to contribute to me in a way that would help me like kind of loosen up to talk to people.
To mentor you.
Yes. So I just didn't know what I was doing. I really loved when I got a client who understood. I'm not a talker per se, but like if we discuss something, I will deliver on what I promise.
Wait, you're a stand-up comedian. You're not a talker.
That's why I say, like at the time, I didn't know how to communicate. I really struggled because I'm an ambivert. Like a situation could either make me a very extroverted person or a very introverted person. But if I'm meeting someone for the first time, like I just don't know how to communicate effectively if it's not about the job. Like the small talk thing and like, oh, my kids go to this school. Have you done kids' rooms before? What was that like? And I'm like, can we just get to the part where we talk about the job? Yeah. So I didn't know how to navigate that. So it really hurt in getting clients. But once I figured that out, I was like, oh, I just have to do like a little small talk and then I can actually do the job after. I got better. But it didn't last long because sometimes you're just talking to people and that person is not interested in you doing a job for them. They're just like, they want to get your opinion on something that they want and they want to see the cheapest place that they can get it, and then it's over.
So during your conversations, your interior design career ends.
Yeah.
You talk for 30 minutes, they take your ideas and go. And
exactly.
Don't pay. Yeah.
So it's kind of like you're being shafted, like from the get-go. It's like, oh yeah, oh, you worked here. That's very nice. I've been to that place. So what do you think about this? And like the entire time, this person is just kind of noting down every single suggestion that you're giving them, and then you'll never hear from them. Yeah.
I know that happens in a lot of careers in this country. Kenyans don't like paying professionals to do it.
They do not. You know? Kenyans love a good shortcut. If they can get the thing that they want in the shortest, cheapest way possible, that's the one they'll choose. Yeah. I don't fault them because it's economically expensive, but at the same time, I am a professional.
The economy too, yeah. You know, sometimes like I come from Mount Kenya and you're dealing with these very rich, wealthy millionaires actually. And the guy wants to build a 6-bedroom house, but he doesn't want to get an architect.
Oh my goodness.
Sasa anasema nataka sitting room ifika pale na nini na nini.
What kind of trust do they have with the people that they want to bring in? Like, okay, my sitting room will just be this.
So that house is built.
Yeah.
And then now they try to fit in furniture. And the furniture can't fit.
Yeah.
Or because they made the room long on one side and whatever.
Now they have to bring like the sofa through.
So you're called in as an interior designer to help.
Yeah.
But you realize that for these guys, the room can't actually, the house, they'd have to break down the house for you to be able to rearrange things so there.
Bad. Yeah.
You know, you are trying to fix now the mistakes that were done when you could have hired an architect from the word-go. You know, because it's a living space.
That's horrible. I think I've only had one client like that who didn't think through the entire setup, and I had to tell them this space actually doesn't make any sense because I don't know how you're going to fit anything through the door. I don't know how you're going to get your bed to even the other rooms, and they have to pass through this one place. Mm-hmm. So we had to like get some stuff through the kitchen because the kitchen had the biggest door, but also it was a problem because the
could turn in the corridor or something.
Yeah. It was very funny. I was just like, I don't know who did this work for you, but I don't think it was smart for you.
And you know, they
don't
know what their standards in terms of how wide the corridor should be.
Yes.
The height of the so that these things can even pass through those doors.
Exactly. And it's very hard for you to tell someone. You can't just think of a space and then think it'll work. The math that's basic math. If it's wrong, we can't fix it. We might have to cut a hole or remove your window to get like furniture inside. And they think you're joking until it actually happens. Yeah.
So how did you end up from interior design to comedy?
So when I was working that very stressful job, I used to watch a lot of late night, US late night TV commentary. I watched Jon Stewart. I watched Colbert. I watched what is his name? John Oliver. That's when Last Week Tonight was starting, I think. I watched Samantha Bee, Seth Meyers, Jimmy Fallon, the other Jimmy. What's the other Jimmy? His name?
Jimmy. Yeah, the one who's on right now.
Yeah, I watched
Jimmy,
a lot of
something starting with K.
Yeah, I watched Carson, like the earlier tapes, like anything on YouTube that I could find that was like political commentary. Because I was trying. Actually, I just saw like a video about like labor movements, and because the job I was working was very hard, and actually we didn't even have a contract. Let's start there. I was like, if these people decided to fire me today, I have no protections whatsoever. So I was trying to read up on what labor laws look like in the country. And I was like, I'm not getting the information that I need. Like I need to either find someone who understands the Constitution and stuff like that. And it was very difficult to get that information. There weren't that many podcasts or stuff I could listen to. So I would watch what was happening in other countries regarding labor. And that's when like one of those videos popped up and I'm like, oh, this stuff can actually be funny and informative. So I started watching even stuff that didn't have to do with my problem. Yeah, so I just research, like I'm watching more videos and I'm understanding this whole different world of comedy. Yeah. And I think that's the time when Jon Stewart was living in Trevor.
Trevor Noah was coming in.
Yes, was coming.
The Daily Show, yeah?
Yes. And I was excited. I was like, oh, this is fun. And obviously I'd watch like Trevor's earlier stand-up specials because I think he's one of the only stand-up comedians who had broken through the African continent like that. Because there were others before him, but I think he was the one.
He was appealing to an international audience. Yeah.
So I remember when I watched Dave
especially
Walker,
American audience.
Yes, especially American audiences. And I think it has a lot to do with the racism thing. Yeah. So that connecting factor, I was like, oh, I'm excited to like watch this. So I'd watch almost everyone and everything that I could find. And I would try and like write my own jokes. Kind of like how would I write a joke, and I would do like my research, and I hadn't started my stand-up career yet, But there was a friend who was holding an open mic, and they were like, oh, if you're a comedian, if you're a musician, a poet, you can come through. So, because I needed like an outlet for my job. So I went to this open mic. It had like everyone. And it was in town, number 7. I remember this because I left my job and was like, this is so silly. What am I even going to do?
Konanga Street, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I go to number 7. It's around like 7:30. That's when the open mic started. My friends were in the audience because they wanted to see what I was actually going to do, because I told them I'm doing comedy, and they were like, okay, we're gonna come and support you, but also comedy. So I get
This
up
is now
there.
your first time.
That's my first time. So I get up on stage, and like the room is very quiet, because a lot of the acts before me were like, people are familiar with the craft. If it's a poet, they know what you're going to do. If you're a musician, they know what you're going to do. But me, I don't even remember the first joke that I did, but I remember there's a person who laughed. I was like, okay, we're on a good path. And then I did my second joke, and I do a lot of dark humor, and it didn't land. And then a lady in the audience started heckling me. And the way number 7 is set up, there's a kitchen very close to where the stage was. So the smoke from the kitchen starts seeping onto the stage. And like I'm
it's
choking.
like a prop now.
Yeah. And I have like I have a problem with my breathing. I had like an issue when I was younger. So like I'm trying to inhale like properly, but I couldn't. And I'm crying and I'm trying not to cough. It was so bad. But I'm very determined to finish my performance. And then there's a lady in the audience who started heckling me. She was like, you're not even that funny. I don't even remember what she was saying, but it was very distracting. But I remember my determination got me from the stage. I walked outside, because number 7 is kind of like a hallway. I walk all the way outside, and I tried to do my performance from the outside.
You're in the mic now.
Holding the mic. It was so tragic. And the moment I gave back the mic to the host, I was like, I think I found the thing that I want to do for the rest of my life. I was like, this is it. If I can live through that experience.
So did they laugh to the next jokes?
I think they laughed at only one.
The first one.
The first one, and then I think a closing joke. But for the most part, I was trying to survive the smoke and also the heckler. Yeah.
And of course, you're surviving. You also you can't beat the treatment you're getting in the office.
No. I was like, this is easy. Because at least right now I feel like I can control my environment. If I can.
You're in charge here.
Yeah, I'm in charge there. Yes, exactly. It was a control thing for me. I was like, I can't control what is happening in the office, but here I feel like there's some level of that. Yeah.
No stage fright at all.
No. I've never been afraid of like being in front of people. I used to be a dancer. When I was a kid, I was a dancer. When I was in high school, I was a dancer. When I was in uni. So I was like, these people don't know me.
Oh, that's why you considered a career in dancing.
Yeah. I just didn't, when I'm on stage, I don't think of the people that are in there as like individuals looking at me, because I'm like, those people don't know me. They're probably going to live here and completely forget who I am. So I'm completely okay. But one-on-one interactions are very difficult, because that person is listening to you. They're hearing everything you're saying. So if you say something wrong, if you mispronounce something, if you're avoiding eye contact, like every single one of those things is very elaborate. So that's scary to me. But a group of people, I'm okay. Yeah.
So you, that's where my first time on stage, I was in Form 2.
Whoa.
And we were doing rehearsal. So like there was nobody in the dining hall, and there was nobody in the hall, apart from our drama teacher and a few guys who were so people I knew, like people I was totally comfortable with. Then I went on stage and I was supposed to recite one line, and I couldn't. My legs became jelly, and I couldn't. And my performance career ended there.
Was it
until now?
Was it like stage fright?
Stage fright, yeah. It's crazy. Like you feel butterflies, and your legs want to collapse, and you can't even remember what you wanted to say.
Oh my goodness.
Funny enough, I ended up becoming the drama club chairman. But
you found a way.
But my career in stage ended there. I never performed really. I was just the administrative, So
But respect for trying. I respect someone like getting up there has to be commended, whether it works out or it doesn't, because it's very difficult.
Now look at me.
Yeah,
You
look
know?
at you. You're hosting a whole podcast.
Podcast, you
Yeah.
know. So that was the first time you try. Didn't go very well, but I guess you have that thing of let me call it a blessing.
Yeah.
That you're performing for yourself, and you say that a lot of artists, like you're in an art studio, the difference between design and art is that art is about me and what I want to put out there.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what you're expressing with your dancing and your stage performance. Design is about the client.
Yes.
And that is why you're having, because you couldn't then,
1,000%.
you couldn't, clients come with their ideas, they just want you to validate them. And the client is always right.
And I think that's a very difficult conversation to have as an artist, because you're also trying to like make sure that your footprint kind of holds, because you've worked so hard to even get to the space where you're at, and someone not even appreciating your creativity, you feel like, surely, like, si unipe chance, like we get there. If you don't like it, then I can find another way. But if I don't even get to express it at all, that kind of it kind of dampens your creative spirit in ways that I don't even think I can describe. Yeah.
Chicken and egg, I guess, because if you look at like art as a profession coming up in the Middle Ages, a lot of the artists then survived because of the what are called benefactors. So you had some rich lord or king or whoever, and they adopt these artists, and then they give you the freedom to draw them, or the church. The Catholic Church, you know,
now
and you don't have
say
those things today.
Now that you say it, literally a lot of artists are children of adoption, which is ironic because that, like, I'm a double child of adoption. It's just, I love when there are people who believe in your artistry enough to give you the resources to actually do the work that you want to do. And right now, they're very limited. It's not that it's not there. I wish it was more, because people are creative and they want to do the best kind of work there is, but there are so many limited opportunities that people are going to the very extremes to make sure that they are heard or they are seen, which is very tragic.
I guess it's a vagary of capitalism.
Yeah.
Whereby you're doing your art to earn a living, not really to express your art.
That is so true.
Yeah.
I think there's very limited instances where you actually get to do your art because just for art's sake. Most of the time it's like, how can I make money off of this? How can I pay my bills? It's more of a survivalist cycle. Yeah.
So you've had your first experience, gotten it out of the way. How do you proceed now to now making a career? You're still working at the interior design firm.
So
how does that progress?
When I started
No, you've left the interior design firm. You're working as a freelancer. Oh,
so
no,
all these things comedy overlapped with me working at that place. Because when I started working, I was just like, okay, I'm going to put my head down and do the right thing, and then maybe this job is going to work out for me. But then when it didn't, and I started doing comedy while I was there as a way to express myself, I really found my voice. Because I would go out and I would make people laugh, and I was like, okay, this is something that I want to do more of. And I kept going at it, and I think it just kind of lit a spark inside me that was like, I can create in ways that are so different, that are not as limited as in this design space, which ironically I loved, like the design aspect, but I felt like that was dying slowly, and that death kind of sparked another life somewhere else. So there was an overlap in the design kind of dying and me getting into comedy. So I did in a year into comedy was when I was quitting. That was like the second year of my job. So I was like, okay, I think I found enough footing, and this is what I want to do. So
are you earning at that time, like from comedy? Or it didn't matter?
I feel like it didn't matter, but I was making close to nothing. Because that's the time when like the performance space for stand-up comedy was actually kind of beginning to make sense. It wasn't like, oh, we've gotten a deal or anything, but there were shows that I could go up and perform and I could get paid a little something. So I used to do a lot of the freelance interior design to help with the bills and everything. Yeah. So I just found like smart ways to survive. And plus with the job I had, I made sure to save for at least a year's rent and like some expenses so that I don't actually run out of money while I'm doing the thing
You're
that
pursuing
I love.
your purpose.
Yeah. Mm.
Did you have any like role models in comedy, Kenyan artists, apart from now? Okay, you had set a bar quite high, the Trevor Noahs and the Steve Corbets and all that. But locally or in Africa, did you have any other role models?
I'll say one of the people whose stuff I saw that actually made me feel I can do that kind of commentary was a guy called Ikena. He used to have a show on BBC. It was a very funny, like 10-minute show. I don't remember what it was called.
Was he Nigerian?
I think he's half Nigerian, half. He's biracial, if I'm not sure.
Yeah, I've watched.
So he used to have like a 10-minute segment on BBC, and it was very funny. It was very. If you watch a lot of what people do on TikTok now, is what he was doing then. So I feel like he was ahead of his time, but also because of the platform, maybe he didn't get like a lot of crossover from like the African diaspora. But I remember watching it vividly and I was like, this is something that I would really like to do, because it was very elaborate. Locally, I'll say Dr. Kingori, because he literally like does puns on even that makes the news, and I think that's a very funny way to interact with audiences. So I thought, like, when I was watching him, I was like, I want to write for you. I even DM'd him. It's very embarrassing, but I didn't get the job.
Why is it embarrassing?
I was like, please hire me. I will really
No, it should not embarrass you. I mean, you try whatever you can.
Yeah, I was like in his DMs begging. That's what I'm saying. It felt very embarrassing, but I was very excited to get into like.
He didn't respond to your DMs.
He didn't respond. That was smart. That was desperate. No, I think he responded after some time later, but also because he has so much work, maybe he forgot or something. Yeah.
He was like, this girl.
Yeah. This is probably just a very unserious individual. But but yeah, I was, I think seeing Dr. Kingori on TV.
But you would be surprised how many Kenyans or people write to famous people they see.
Yeah.
Like, people inspire you. Mm-hmm. And you think, maybe if I reach out to this person, they'll maybe mentor me.
Yeah.
And they never respond.
Yeah, you never know who you're writing to. Maybe they'll respond, maybe you'll never get an answer. It's okay. I'm okay with trying, but maybe the message I wrote was what was questionable, because I have to go back and check what
I want to write.
Yeah. Like, maybe I didn't write like a professional. I probably wrote like out of desperation. If you hire me next week, like maybe that's how I wrote it. Yeah, exactly. And maybe he looked at it and was like, okay, no. But yeah, before I forget, also Ridiculous. Ridiculous was like a key part of...
And they were alumni of your art school.
Yes. They were like a key part of like what even comedy morphed into over the years. Like being able to see that. Because I don't remember very well what I watched when I was younger, but I went to like seek out the stuff to really
before
understand
Ridiculous,
what
there
it
was
was.
Vioja Makamani, which was a joke,
Every single one of those shows had like a very good way of like doing social political commentary in a very funny, engaging way. And I don't think sometimes they get enough credit for the work that they did, because there was not a slump, but a kind of shift in what made major comedy in like the TV space. And like those particular voices kind of fizzled. So you'd only get like one show, and then the rest of it kind of, it's not really there. There was a reporter on KTN too. I don't remember his name, but they used to do like a funny segment that was also like kind of late night style. It was like 7 minutes. I don't remember what its name was, but I also really loved watching that. I remember just like very small bits of these things that at the time maybe I didn't know the word for it, but they were very inspirational to the work that I came to do. Yeah.
Yeah, so your ridiculous came at a time when, towards the tail end of President Moi's era, where you did not criticize Moi. Moi was the baba and mama.
Yeah.
You know?
He was a scary individual.
And funny enough, eventually, so they started performing, of course, in clubs and gigs before TV took them.
Yeah.
And funny enough, Moi would invite them now to his Larry's to open for him.
That was brave.
Yeah, you know?
If I was to make fun of Moi, I would have been beheaded. Oh my goodness. Because I think also people think like a president cannot take a joke. But I don't think that's true. I feel like they understand fully where the line is.
No, ours is a joke now. So
Yeah.
him and his regime are just one big joke.
Exactly.
So they can take a joke.
Yeah. I feel like if you're doing kind of a ridiculous thing, you should be okay with us making fun of you. Like when the deputy president kind of went to Colombia and said there are tigers in Kenya. And I'm just like, sir, in your backyard or where the tigers? Because I would like to see them. Like, I would like to see a tiger in Kenya. I don't know how they're surviving with the climate and everything. And I don't know if you're like a secret zookeeper or something. I would really like to know. But yeah, it's a funny thing. And people just pointing that out doesn't mean that they're against you or anything. It's just that we find it funny.
For me, what was funny was the way he tried to, when it blew up, and he's trying to walk it back.
Oh,
now, I don't know, I was thinking in Kikuyu, and the name I mentioned was the Kikuyu. And like, there's no Kikuyu name for tigers.
Yeah.
Like, just stop and move on, you know.
Sometimes you have to lie. You kind of have to lie. You are in too deep, and that's the only way out. Yeah.
You know, because the name he gave was for a leopard. Kikuyus have names for leopards, cheetahs, because they exist in Kenya, you know.
Yeah.
But tigers are not native to. There's no African country actually that has a name for a tiger because they don't exist in Africa.
Yeah.
You know, so, but I think it's either him or his comms team who
if it's the comms team, I'm so sorry. Just like hire me. I'm free. I can write. I have a list of all the animals. Yeah, I'll write jokes for you. Yeah. You'll be killing. You'll just be up there. Like everyone is like, oh, we really love this guy. It's very funny. And you don't know, like I'm getting my 200s of thousands and I'm happy. Yeah.
I'll make sure that we share these with them.
Yeah, please. I'm trying to get a check.
You know? What about Mwalimu King'ang'i?
I'll say what Churchill did for this particular scene, that's it's a revolutionary thing. I don't think I can even put into words the kind of space he created, because it was a safe space for stand-up comedians from different backgrounds in a very big scale, because he understood I'm funny, but I can't hold this comedy space by myself. And to go further, he found as many different voices, because without his space, I don't think we would have gotten like the Eric Omondis, the Mamitos, the Amans, because there were so many different people from different backgrounds in that space. And I'm very grateful that space was there. It kind of became difficult to work with for a lot of the comedians after, because I'm sure there's a lot of background actors too that we don't get to see.
The who manage the space for him.
Yeah, so maybe that kind of spiraled into something else. But the space and the voices that got out of that particular, from Churchill show, I think it's still phenomenal to this day. Because even when you mention comedy, you can't say top 3 without mentioning someone who wasn't in Churchill.
Have you ever worked with him?
No. No, I haven't had the privilege of working. But plus, I feel like at this point, he's probably just like, he's made enough wealth to be like out here seeking newer comedians. Yeah.
And I think a bit of background is that he was also a mentee of Ridiculous.
Yes.
So he had been struggling for a long time. Then these young guys came and swept. Him was, that he was in theater at KNT, trying to make it in comedy.
Yeah.
And these guys come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And they give him the space.
Mhm.
And I think that's when he felt he had the good intentions of also
Yeah.
mentoring others, because giving them something that he himself initially had not had until I think Ridiculous came along.
That was
And he's
awesome.
lasted for long.
He has.
Because he's a professional in that.
He's a household
If there's
name.
anybody who's the Carries and the Tony Njogonas and the Walter Mungares were accidental comedians.
Yes. And then
He has been the professional from the one.
Yeah. But that's what he was able to do. Honestly, I think for me, he's a Hall of Famer. Like when you think Kenyan comedy, it's kind of hard not to even think about his name. It's not, I don't think it's possible. Yeah. So that's, it's really nice that he did that.
Show.
Yeah.
What would you say to him if you met him?
I don't know. I'll be like, give me a job. Like, it wouldn't be a good conversation in the beginning. Maybe after like hour 3, maybe when my brain has settled, then maybe I can have like a proper conversation.
You'll be starstruck through the first 2 hours.
Because I've had the privilege of working with Mamito, who is like a direct descendant of like his legacy, and the way that particular space informed even how she works. I don't think people understand the kind of impact that certain people in your life have, because they can even make phone calls to give you access to resources, stuff that you hadn't even thought of. It's just like this person knows the right people and they're willing to do that to make sure that your career continues to grow. And I think that's beautiful. Yeah.
Wow, Churchill.
Shout out to Churchill.
Yeah, I used to know him way back when we were living in Keno.
Churchill lived in King. No.
We lost touch. Yeah, he used to live in 87, somewhere around there.
I didn't know that. That's a really fun fact. Maybe I should go to Kino to like really to get the roots. Yeah.
So you're working interiors, comedy. When does it become comedy fully?
So I think it became comedy fully in 2020. Ironically, it was 2020. Yeah.
COVID.
Because COVID allowed us to. Before COVID, it was there was a problem with like the spaces we used to perform. It was it's closed off, it's small, and the people who like you and are aware of you are the only people who come. But in 2020, because of the pandemic, we couldn't do shows past a certain time, and people couldn't go out and party and do all these different things. So they had to find alternative ways to be entertained. So there was a room we have at Two Grapes in Kilimani. It's called Two Grapes. So this particular room is very small. It's very intimate. And one of the comedians I work with, he even had a show on NTV. It's called TMI with Tai. So my friend Tai Ngashira, his video, one of his...
Tai is my friend.
Oh!
But I know him as Andrew.
So Tai's video went viral. And I think that kind of had a domino effect in like getting other people to be like, oh, who are these people? When can I see them? So people got more excited about the scene because they're like, oh, there's like a comedy voice that we haven't seen that's a little different from what we're used to. So I feel like COVID worked for us because the space was very niche and you kind of have to book to be there. You're only there for like 2 hours because you have to go home before the curfew. It just felt like everyone had to get in and see us. And that kind of introduced us to new audiences. And there was a boom, a comedy boom for us, at least in the scene that I work in. And it was fun to be in that particular space at that particular time. So that kind of spiraled into other areas that I can get paid purely for my comedy. Yeah. But personally, I had also to like carve out my own comedic voice outside of just like doing stand-up. Because I was always interested in doing socio-political commentary. I started my channel Fake Work with Justine just to like make sure I have my own.
On platform?
So I started, I did my Fake Work videos were initially only on Instagram. and I was struggling because I didn't even know how to like frame it. I didn't even have like the right camera angle. If you see my earlier videos, they look a mess. But I was so determined to like talk about like the huduma number problem, the passport issue, like teenage pregnancies, like all this stuff that you see in the news and is usually like talked about so carelessly. I was like, let me put like a Kenyan voice of a person living through these particular issues on it. Maybe it will resonate, maybe it won't, but I want people to laugh, but also understand that there's more to just what we see on the news. Yeah.
Ty, which is Anthony,
yeah.
not Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've always known him as a lawyer. That's a very serious lawyer. So when I saw his first videos, I was like, no, this can't be the same guy. You know, like especially doing the Kikuyu voiceovers, the Kikuyu accent kind of thing. Does he practice law anymore, or is he fully in comedy? Or
he's fully in comedy.
He stopped his lawyering totally.
I don't think I've.
You don't know the lawyer bit of it.
Yeah, I don't think he's doing anything law related at the moment.
He used to work for an organization as a lawyer.
Yeah.
So he stopped that totally.
Yeah. He actually quit his job. And I think around the time he quit his job, he worked maybe for like a couple of months and then he got the TMI with Ty show. Yeah. So he had like a whole path set when he left that job. He was like, I'm going to be successful in comedy, and he really has carved out a proper path for himself. And
you've grown together?
Yeah. Because I remember the first time I met Ty, we were doing this random open mics at the Blues in town. I think that place closed down. So it was kind of like a basement space. So we would go there and we had open mics every Monday. And I remember the first time I saw Ty, he was doing like this very weird puns. And I was like, this can't be your whole comedy thing. I used to laugh at him so much because I'm like, you have to write more. Like in my head, I was like, you can't just do puns, because he's very good. He's very good at it. He's very funny. It's very quick-witted. But I'm like, okay, there has to be more to it. And he's one of those, I will learn and I will like really, really excel. Because right now where Ty is and the person I saw the time we met, they don't even come close. Yeah.
That dedication.
It is.
Which is also what you had, I guess.
I believe so. I like to think that I do have the dedication.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So COVID helps you. Then you go into video, horrible videos initially.
Yes.
Then what happens?
So I think I've blanked out a big part of it, because there's a time when
Let's go back.
Yeah.
Which is that bit.
Okay. So when I was starting out, I would try and do videos every month or like every 2 weeks. I had no formula, because I was like, I have to find a story, I have to do research, I have to write, I have to like make sure it's funny, I have to make sure the research is correct, and then I'll put up the video. So there was so many gaps between one video and the other, because I felt like I can only do it when it's the right way. And that was like a lot of time wasting, because I also didn't get to grow as fast as I needed to. Then in 2021, so the first season of my show was it was all over the place. In 2021, towards the end, I was intentional about like 2022 being a year where I release more work, and I want to like do it the right way, because I have a YouTube channel, and with YouTube didn't have YouTube Shorts yet, so I could only do like the longer videos, and the longer videos take a lot more resources to shoot. I have to get an editor, so I did like the second season. The first episode was called the pedestrian struggle, and then I did the second video called period poverty, and then I did the consequences of Kenya's infinity debt, and then I'm forgetting my fourth video, and then I did like the problem with Play KE music. So I was trying to find a way to talk about different issues that don't necessarily all feel political, or like it doesn't have to be that way. So I was trying to see, how do I do a season that's just as interesting and still as funny, but more properly curated. So I dedicated 2022 to that kind of momentum. And I'm happy to say, it, as much as it didn't end all in 2022, in 2023, I wrapped up my second season. with the problem with Play KE part 1 and 2. So 2022 was I was very intentional because I was like job hopping. I was doing everything to survive.
So you're doing other jobs also?
Yeah, because I got like I wrote for the Farid Kimani show. I wrote for news by The Catalyst, hosted by Noni Mainge. And then all these jobs were like very short, very temporary. It ends and then you're left. You don't know what to do.
You're
don't
writing
have any
comedy
income.
for them?
Yeah. So it was like I was getting the momentum that I needed, but also it wasn't giving me the financial security to be like, oh, I know I have this job for 6 months. I know I have this job for this and this duration. It was just all over the place. So that was between 2021 and 2022. It was just like jumping through all these different hoops. So in last year was when I think I got the momentum. I started doing like daily videos. Like I think I started in March. Like every day I'm like intentional about doing a video about a current story and like just breaking it down instead of just, you know how people like to like just read like the headline and then leave the story at it. Maybe there's more detail that's not being discussed. So I was intentional about that. So I think I started in March. I started doing the videos every day. Like I would just, what's a story that's happening that I want to talk about? And sometimes the stories they're bad. They're very like I feel like it's something, if I read it, I feel it's like a part of my spirit is being crushed. And I'm very overwhelmed and I still have to make it funny. And I'm like, who is doing this again today?
Because one of the things I've noticed, I noticed with your content, especially 2022 coming to now, is that I think you're clearer on which side you are.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people try to remain non-partisan. Politicians, comedians and all. They're like, they don't want to offend, just in case they're invited by Azimio or Ruto. They don't want to offend, because the artists, that's how a lot of artists
attacking
make
while
money.
defending.
Yeah,
you can't do that.
So you are very clear,
Yeah.
like where the problem is. How is that? Why is that?
I personally do not support any parties because people can be harmful no matter what political side they're on, and that usually gets lost in Kenyan politics a lot because people feel like if you say something about the president and his administration, you're definitely for the opposition. But the problem is if you just blindly support an administration, you're the one who's going to be harmed. Same on the flip side, if you just blindly support the opposition during the, what is it called, the finance bill voting, people were being like bribed with soup. And I'm like, what stories are we reading? Like, honestly, I'm getting riled up thinking about the people who trusted an MP that they voted for. They were like, this person is in there as my voice. And that person is like having a bowl of soup somewhere and getting, I don't know, 50K under the table to like not show up to vote against something that's harmful to them. And if you're not going to speak about both sides of the aisle being complicit or like contributing to the harm, that just means you don't really care about the country or you don't care about the welfare of everyone. You just care about yourself. Yeah.
So because it's good you mentioned the finance bill, because I think, I don't know whether that is the case, but I think that is the video that really went viral.
Yeah.
How did you? What made you do that? What was the thought process?
I'll say my initial thing when I was reading just some of the taxes that were being introduced, I was like, there's no way this is real. I thought it was just one of those things where you see, but it's never going to come to fruition. And then I was reading about like how the IMF has done the same things in certain countries. And I'm like, okay, this is a problem. This is not just like an exclusively Kenyan thing. It's probably a bigger issue about money that we're getting from outside. So that kind of made me take a step back and like really want to delve into it from a perspective of like, as a Kenyan, what does this mean for us? What does that look like? And even before the finance bill, I'd even is it before, like a little after, I'd spoken about like the Shakahola massacre and like how that whole thing is being bred by like poverty and people being exploited and like those kinds of issues. Also, just like when people are disenfranchised, it really leaves them with no choice. And I felt like with this one, we had an option. Like we had an option. We could opt out. We didn't have to go through all these taxes and all these financial constraints on a personal level, from fuels to like all these different things. I don't feel like we needed them, considering the economy is already like on very shaky ground. So I was like, how do I talk about this in a way that just feels like it's a rant, but it's also informed? Because usually my videos are very curated. I like try to hit like 6 points in a video and I wrap it up. But this one I felt like I had to go a little deeper, the way I do for my YouTube videos, but like in a more short format 3-minute way that people would engage in. Yeah.
It's because when I got, the interesting thing about that video is that the people are sharing, the people would consider mainstream civil society leaders who don't watch, they don't go to TikTok.
Yeah.
You know, so I was like, I was shocked actually. I was, but also impressed because I've been trying to interest some of those people in this kind of content and to support this kind of content. But then to have them now share it as an example of, how, of course, there was an uproar around the finance bill. That kind of, I didn't know who Justine was. And after I engaged with it, I think I don't know, I didn't follow you on TikTok because it came on WhatsApp.
On WhatsApp, yeah.
It had been downloaded to WhatsApp. And I tried to ask who, nobody seemed to know you. Like, I'm always like, how can I find this person? Because I'm a community organizer and I'm always looking for voices of courage, which is what we should have in this conversation, or leaders in their spaces, because that is again leadership.
Yeah.
Leadership is not just politicians; it's being willing to stand and do the commentary, whether it's comic, whether it's meme or whatever. Say what needs to be said.
Yes.
Because Kenyans are always playing safe. Yeah, we don't know whether that politician will be our employer. Have they offered you some money since?
If anything,
to stop doing those videos.
If anything, I remember one of the moments that really shocked me was when that video made it to my family WhatsApp group. Because my brothers don't understand what I do for a living. They're just like, you have a job.
Even my dad keeps asking me like, what do you do? He doesn't know what I do.
And I can't start explaining. Look, I just like yell into a void, and hopefully someone will like my work enough to be like, oh yeah, I'll give this person some money to do some work for me. I really can't explain. That's not a job description for my brother, because like he's much older than me and he's very traditional. He's like, you get a traditional job, you get a salary, you take care of yourself, and you move on with your life. So I remember when I saw it, and it's my brother who shared it. It's like, oh, this is actually very informative. This is very good. I didn't know this what you did. And I'm like, are you on TikTok? Please follow me. I need the numbers. Actually, it was very difficult to explain that to him. And I think that's when I felt like, oh yeah, maybe.
So when he shared it, was that kind of validation?
Yeah, it was like, okay, maybe it's breaking through more than I'd initially thought. There's people who actually want to have some things explained to them, or like even their voices amplified, and maybe they do not have their platform. So I was like, okay, maybe this channel is doing something. Yeah.
And how has it been since?
It's
with your family, politicians, work-wise, whatever?
I got very lucky because a good part of the feedback was very positive. But also there were a bunch of people who were very annoyed, and they were like, oh, I'm pretty sure you've been paid by the opposition to say this stuff.
Those guys had been paid to come and say that to you.
And I'm like, if a politician was paying me to go out of my way to... I would be the worst person on the internet because I can make people laugh. That's a dangerous thing. And you're giving me money to just like say a bunch of different things. I can do that easy. But how does that help me? Because I can't live with myself if I'm just out there saying things that I cannot stand behind. I feel very uncomfortable when people accuse me of something that I haven't done. I was like, I really wish someone had paid me for this. This is something that really affected me because I'm imagining when fuel prices go up, food also goes up. There are people who can barely take care of their basic needs right now. They can't pay rent, they can't buy food, they can't even pay school fees for their kids. And if this economic situation spirals, how does that look like? That's scary for me because I come from a family where I've seen some of these things happen. So what if I just like talk about it, maybe people will not feel like they're going crazy. And someone accuses me of like being paid to do that. Because I remember this very specific comment where someone was like, I'm pretty sure you're talking like this and you have a day job. And I was like, that's so funny because I have been unemployed for as long as I can remember. I've been a freelancer just going on faith. I'm just like, I hope next month works itself out because I've paid rent and I think that's all I have for now. And I wish more people were aware or just more sensitive to the idea that someone can be very vocal about things that are happening without necessarily having to have like some form of kickback. It's just, you're just a dissenting voice. Like you're just...
And that has been a constant theme to the all the guests that we've had. Because you talk about Utu na Uzalendo, like, and it's not being, and I keep saying it's not being patriotic to Kenya. I'm wearing
the Kenyan
president. Like it's being patriotic to the people, to the communities, not allowing the bullshit that we're going through, and standing up because, of course, there are consequences. Sometimes there are consequences for speaking up. You might find that you no longer get gigs that you were supposed to get and that kind of thing. So there are usually personal consequences.